Welcome to the Forge Truth Podcast, where we are building great men as God defines greatness. Forge is a movement of men with a mission to help all men realize they're the deeply beloved, redeemed sons of the Most High God. I'm your producer, Zach, and I'm here to discuss the issues that affect men the most with Dr. Pete Allenson, lifelong pastor and leader of Forge. Pete, welcome to the show.
Here we go, man.
We are continuing our discussion of the yearly report put out by Men in the Mirror called The State of Young Men.
Yeah.
And, last week we talked about kind of the general, trend shifts that we've seen in young men, Christian men in America, kind of moving away from some of the dire trends that we've seen of leaving the church, questioning the faith, those kind of things. People falling into addiction, depression, loneliness, those kind of ideas, and maybe a glimmer of hope that the trends are starting to get better and people are starting to get more interested in spiritual matters again.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to start with some statistics. This is data about men, church attendance, things like that, and see, we're going to discuss what that means for men in our culture.
Yeah.
You ready for it?
Let's do it. You're the numbers guy. You're better at math than I am, but statistics are really important. And it's crucial that we understand these things. What's the first one?
Church attendance. Okay. Probably for the whole history of the American church, we've seen women go to church more than men. So the female attendance has been higher. But just in the past couple of years, we've seen male attendance be higher than women.
Yeah. That's in terms of a 25-year reversal in men and women's church attendance. Men are up 40%. Women are only up 36%. So women are apparently growing. Is that how to read that statistic?
No, it's not exactly. What it means is that 40% of men attend church.
Okay, 40% in America today.
Yeah, and 36% of women.
Okay, so now that is an interesting statistic. One historical caveat here, I would say, is that in the early days of America, in the Puritan church, men had been trained in England and other places to be the spiritual leaders of their home and have their families in church. And so it was pretty patriarchal. Men were in church, but probably in the last, and certainly our lifetime, say even in my lifetime, not your lifetime, but from the mid 1950s to the present, probably more women than men in church. But certainly from the 80s on, I would say more women than men. Now that's changing. That's pretty radical. Just
recently having more men attending church. And what does that say to you?
I think it says a couple of things. I think it says men are realizing, particularly younger men are realizing that the church could have some answers. I don't think we see a revival happening yet, but good signs. Like you said, you put it well. It's not really a full-blown revival, like the Jesus movement of the 1970s, where tons of men were and girls were coming into the church. But I do think that more men are saying, all right, the toxic masculinity is not working, but this passive masculinity isn't working either, and I need help. And I think men are saying they need help, and they're willing to look to God. I think it's one thing it says.
Yeah. I know you're a student of history. One thing we've learned is that things, go through these waves.
That's right. Yeah.
They lean in one direction, lean in another. I mean, in the mid 1800s, I think church attendance was like 10%.
Yeah.
It was like crazy low, the number of people that went to churches. And then, the Great Awakenings and things like that really shifted the needle the other direction.
Right.
And so these trends are just a snapshot in time.
Yeah.
So we don't know where God is taking the church 10 years from now, 50 years from now. But we can't get hyper focused on like, okay, we're at 40% and that's how it's always going to be. That's not, we have to decide, like, based on where we're at now, like, what are we going to do about it? Like, where are we going to, how are we going to respond to our snapshot in time?
Yeah, and I would say one clear thing, because I think as a pastor, I still am a pastor, but even though I'm not leading a local church, I think as a pastor, if I saw that stat, it would make me say to my elders and to my staff, what does this mean about what we're doing as a church? If there are more men coming to church than women, then maybe my attitude toward men needs to reflect that we need to build this church in a man-friendly way, as well as a woman-friendly way. I think we've spent a lot of years as pastors trying to be more friendly to women and giving women opportunities to use their spiritual gifts and to see that they're important. Women are absolutely crucial in the church. But I think now we need to also see that maybe that pendulum has swung a little bit too far, that maybe we have sent the message, men, you're not that important. You're not as important as women and children. And so I would think as a pastor that this stat needs to make me say, I better be developing my men. I better see this as a trend of God because men are called to be leaders in the church.
Yeah. Okay, let's go over our next stat. This one's, unfortunate. It's a little sad, but Gen Z men had the lowest rate of a certain belief in God of any generation on record.
Wow.
So this is Gen Z of any generation on record. They have the lowest rate of belief in the certainty in God.
Why do you think that is? Because you're a millennial.
I'm millennial.
Yeah, you're not Gen Z.
This is not me.
Yeah.
Why is this? Well, there's I do think because of how much media is out there in social media, there's certainly very popular influencers that want you to not believe in God, right?
Oh,
and so
yeah.
that is certainly a part of it. Also, it's boil over frustration with older generations that believe in God and also did things that they don't like. And so they associate the two with each other.
Yeah.
So you believe in God and you do these things that I don't like. Well, I'm going to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
So that's part of it too.
So perhaps living in anger with this idea that God is Father. It's interesting. The Lord's Prayer starts that way, right? Pray this way. Jesus said, our Father. Well, millennials and Gen Z as well have experienced a great breakdown of the family, where they've gotten this message that, well, fathers aren't there or men are not important. Now, if the father role is shifted into a negative viewpoint, then a lot of these young men are going to be angry at their dads, and they often could transfer that to God as well. So I think there's a lot of secular teaching, that's true, but there could be a lot of anger associated with the breakdown of the father and the family that just leaves these guys, I'm out on my own. Mm-hmm. I got to make it happen, and I quite frankly don't know how to make it happen.
Yeah. Plus, there's a rising trend, we've seen it for decades, of spiritual ideas, but not like systematic Christian ideas.
Talk about that, because I think that's important.
So 83% of Gen Z men still believe in an afterlife. So they're the lowest of any generation in their belief in God, but they still believe in an afterlife by and large, right?
Interesting.
So what that tells me is that people are believing more in like a buffet spiritualism, where they pick and choose the ideas that sound great to them and leave behind other ones, rather than kind of these historic, systematic theologies that are based on more than just your feeling in the moment, right?
Yeah.
So Christianity and Orthodox teaching is based off of 2,000 years of the New Testament, 4,000 years of the Old Testament, the church and their historic interpretations of things. Like there's a pedigree there. Whereas like now it's very common for people to kind of choose their own adventure.
Yeah, that's right. And really, this is the fruit bearing that came from my generation way back. I wasn't a hippie, but I came right after him, right? So the hippie movement, the New Age movement, the transcendental meditation, drug experimentation and all that kind of stuff, but that New Age-ness, that Eastern mysticism. So you hear a lot of people say, I'm spiritual. I believe in an afterlife. I believe there's more, but it's not a true biblical theism. But also because we've tried to systematically root out good Christian teaching out of every area of life, Hollywood, schools, everything else, universities. A lot of our people just, they're drawn to the spiritual, but not the biblical. And so that's why we have this. Yeah. So, wow, amazing.
Another data point we're seeing is, when people are asked, like, what religion are you? What faith are you? There's this category called the nuns.
Yeah.
So they say none. What religion are you? None, right? And for a while, that number had been increasing.
Yep.
But just in the last 5 or 6 years, it's stabilized. It's plateaued.
Yeah.
Perhaps started to decrease. Mm-hmm. So the nuns have stabilized and are starting to decrease. Mm-hmm. So what does that tell you?
Yeah. It shows, it reverts back to that spiritual hunger that is out there. And the Bible tells us that people are hungry. All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. We're created in the image of God, but we're fallen. And so as the Spirit moves, it shows people there's more. And you need more. And that you can't just believe in a clearly atheistic society or world. Nothing produces nothing. It doesn't produce something. So atheism just doesn't work. It's not intellectually defensible even, really. And so that's a good sign. There's that hunger. Is there any other reason, do you think?
Well, when people are hungry, they'll eat anything. Right?
That's right.
So you might as well have some good food in the pantry ready to give them. Yeah. Because they'll eat the junk food if that's all that's available. So that's a challenge to Christian men.
And there's and there's an increase, I think, in spiritism and witchcraft and some of these other anti-Christian religions and the move of the evil one. So we have to be careful of that.
Now, one thing that we're seeing is that religious men report a higher well-being.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is across all the levels of mental health, purpose, life satisfaction, social engagement, all those kind of things. The higher your percentage of weekly attendance to church, active prayer life, those kind of things correlate with a higher well-being.
That's right.
And I think guys can see that.
That's right.
Like they'll recognize in their friend group, oh, this guy seems to be happier than I am. Mm-hmm. What does he have that I don't have? Yep. And that's one of the things he has is he has faith.
He's still married. Why is he still married? He has kids that love him. How does that happen? They will know you by your fruits. And there is a very real sense that, by the way, that is the selling point that Christianity is good news. It not only gives hope for eternity, but it gives hope for the present as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're also seeing that in a lot of studies, men are more likely than women to want a family and kids.
Yeah, that is interesting, and I've seen that on through some of the young men that I know that are in their 20s, and they're saying, "Hey, I want to get married." And I think if you develop good sons, of course, good daughters, we got to do both. But if you develop godly sons and you model godly manhood in front of your sons, they will want to get married earlier in life, and they won't go off, in the sexual escapades typical in the young adult college scene. But they want marriage, family, and moral stability. The statistics also show that women, I don't think this is in that report, but that the higher women typically go in their postgraduate education, master's, doctor's degree, the more liberal they become, and even more do they leave the church. So it must show that our higher education and higher education is more intellectually committed to secularism, and that women who are pursuing what men used to pursue, those heights of doctor's degrees and influential positions, are aping what men used to follow, and they're leaving the faith. It's a sad thing.
One thing that I'm seeing is men want to find a good woman, settle down, have a family.
Yeah.
And women traditionally want that as well. But I think they're looking at a lot of men and be like, yeah, he's not worth marrying.
That's right.
He's not marriageable.
That's right.
I don't want to raise kids with him. And so that goal kind of like shifts away for them.
That's right.
Whereas like, I think if you're a godly man that is pursuing righteousness, that you are disciplined in your life, that you focus on the gifts of the Holy Spirit, that like you're letting Jesus transform you, you're going to be a desirable man.
That's right.
And there are going to be women that are going to be interested in you, right?
Yeah.
But if you are undisciplined, not following after the Lord, pursuing things that God would not approve of, these quality women are not going to be beating down your door to start a family with you.
That's right. That's right. You think about it. For the past 20, 25 years, women have had so much growth. They've broken the glass ceiling in corporate America in terms of leadership positions, and they're very, very accomplished. I started noticing this, Zach, several years ago when I'd go to a Starbucks and I would see, I met regularly at a Starbucks for a while. Some guys don't like Starbucks. I'm sorry. It's good coffee. I like it. But I noticed that these men and women were coming together, and that the young guys looked like they had been rode hard and hung up wet, and that the woman was dressed to the nines. It was like, well, who's going to work? It was the woman. And I started noticing that disparity. And so what we're saying to young men is, make something of yourself. And the gospel will make something of you. But think about how God wants you to tend the culture and add value into our world. Pursue a job, a career. Keep your body in shape. Discipline yourself. I like that. Schedule yourself. Don't just go along with everybody else. And you will become desirable for a woman.
Yeah. All right. Let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about some of the major like things in our culture that are defining manhood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Especially in like secular spaces or not in our churches. What are the things that actually are defining what masculinity is for men today?
Yeah, well, the first thing is that they are saying that we're moving from the manosphere to meaning, and that's good. And a lot of our men don't even know what the manosphere is,
How familiar are you with the manosphere or like the red pill community?
Yeah, I am somewhat. What is it? The Sigma blog post. I read that, and some others. But it could be pretty darn toxic and pretty. Red pill means I've seen the truth. Women are the problem, kind of the issue,
Yeah.
and men are angry. They're angry at women, and they're attacking them in every way, shape, or form. And they're pursuing being controlling, which is not a biblical kind of Christianity.
Yeah, it's a group that does demean women.
It does,
and it uplifts men at the expense of women, right? Mm-hmm. And so it tells men that like, look, you women are disposable. If you want to have 3 or 4 women, that's fine, because what really matters is you becoming a high value man. Mm-hmm. And by high value, they mean, rich, successful. And, if you can do those things, then you can, get a high value woman. Mm-hmm. And so it's really, it's speaking to men that feel like, oh, am I a high value man? Like, do I deserve a high value woman? Like, I don't know what my pecking order is in society. It speaks to those men that are not being told from the gospel that like, look, the God of the universe values you enough to send his son to die for you.
Right.
Like you are a high value man, regardless of your success, regardless of your wealth. Like you have value to God.
That's right.
And that should give you that identity should give you the confidence, to pursue the good things in life.
That's right.
Like a good woman, to have a relationship with those kind of things. These men in the manosphere are teaching you, look, you have to grab these things for yourself.
Yep.
Because you don't have high value unless you make it for yourself.
That's right.
And that's not the gospel. And there's lots of them. New ones are popping up all the time. Have you heard the latest one? Have you heard of clavicular?
Yes. In fact, I just read some stuff on him yesterday.
Yeah,
and so they're doing the looks maxing thing.
Maxing. Yeah.
And so what is that? Talk about that.
So he's the latest one in kind of this community of he's hyper focused on one thing. It's called looks maxing.
Yeah.
It's basically like the most important thing in a man's life is how good he looks.
That's right.
Because looks affect if girls are going to be attracted to you, if you get a good job, if you have success. It all starts with your looks. And so he's kind of a psychopath in a way. He goes through these extreme measures to make himself as attractive as possible, even to the point of what he calls bone smashing.
Bone smashing,
so
yeah.
He would take a hammer and just kind of strategically smash parts of his face so that the bone fractures would heal back in stronger ways and make him have a better jawline.
A better jawline, more square jawline, because that's more masculine and better looking, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's just this idea of this hyper focus on what is the problem? The problem is not being attractive enough. So how do I solve that one problem that the rest of the world circles around?
Yep.
And for him, it's looks maxing. And as Christians, again, the problem is sin. And so we should be, righteousness maxing.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And really getting the full orb rather than what you said, this movement is it's all secular values. It's get a lot of money, get a lot of power, get a lot of good looks. And that's all secular and it's all external. It's not inside out, right?
Yeah, exactly. None of it is like changing your heart.
That's right.
It's changing the exterior so that you appear better to other people.
That's right.
And hopefully we're starting to see dissatisfaction with that and people moving away from that.
That's right.
And longing for something just a little bit less like worldly.
Yeah.
Right. To define them. Like, don't be defined by how you look or how much money you have. Be defined by something greater.
Cosmetic surgery is on the incredible rise for men because they want to be perceived as handsome. But you're exactly right. It's this more of a desire to be. When we talk at Forge about becoming a great man as God defines greatness, it's really that full-orbed sense of developing your heart with God. God said to Samuel, looking for a replacement for King Saul, God looks at the heart, not on the outside. Now, get in shape, stay in shape, never get out of shape. But we got to be good managers of our bodies. Okay. Yeah. That's a spiritual thing, but don't go overboard on that.
Well, that's a new trend that we're seeing as well is this drive to discipline.
That's right.
Right. So a lot of influencers on social media are preaching how to live a disciplined life, right? Whether that's in physical discipline, whether that's in sobriety, whether that's in getting things done and starting businesses, being successful. Discipline is something that young men today are really gravitating towards. Mm-hmm. So what do you think of that?
Yeah. Well, and we've been talking, the Bible talks about that and has 2 Timothy 2:2. The things you have learned from me, Paul said to Timothy, these entrust to faithful men who will teach others also. Discipline yourself for the purpose of godliness is a big part of discipleship. And so we talk about having that daily appointment with God, the beginning of the day, start the conversation, remember who you are and why you're here. And so it's really, discipline is a big part. Disciplines, there are many spiritual disciplines, but disciplines that become delight. So what are some of the spiritual disciplines? One of them I already said, the daily appointment with God. We call that the dog.
For sure. Yeah. There's a lot of spiritual disciplines. One of them is a big one is prayer. Yeah. Right. How prayer needs to be a part of your daily life. Mm-hmm. Part of what makes up your life is prayer. Another is fellowship, going to church. These are spiritual disciplines. Yeah. Giving generously is a spiritual discipline. Mm-hmm. Serving others is a spiritual discipline. Wow. Memorizing scripture. Fasting.
Wow. Yeah. Now, fasting is never commanded in the New Testament. Why should I fast?
Well, it doesn't have to be commanded in order for it to be a beneficial thing, right? Fasting is an incredible practice if done for the right reasons, right? What fasting is you deprive yourself of something in order to focus on something else. So you might skip a meal or skip all your meals for a day in order to let that hunger for food drive you to a hunger for God. So when you realize like, oh, I'm kind of hungry right now, that uses like that focus that hunger gives you and it redirects it to God. And like, really my body might be hungry for bread, but my soul is hungry for God. And so you can spend that time in reflection and meditation and drive towards getting closer to God.
Yeah.
And it's just for a time.
Yeah. Maybe use that time, maybe use that lunch break instead of eating, to pray more or read scripture more extensively, or just to think about your life a little bit more deeply. Yeah.
Right. And so the spiritual disciplines, I mean, honestly, in the utility belt of a Christian man, the disciplines are like really important.
Absolutely crucial. No woman really likes an undisciplined man. That no man will get ahead without discipline. Discipline your time, discipline what you watch, discipline how much time you spend on the phone. There's a lot of how much you eat. Like I've always liked to work out, but I also like cookies and sugar, anything with sugar or carbs in it. I mean, I can eat 5-6 cookies. I have to discipline myself. It's crazy. You're laughing, I mean, I can wolf down chips. I got to discipline myself.
Yeah, you look like a slob, Pete. I mean, it's just 5 cookies. Seriously, shocking.
I can eat 5 cookies, but the fact of the matter is that if you think of the guys that get ahead spiritually, relationally, they discipline their mouth, they discipline their words, they discipline their anger. Boy, I mean, the more we think about it, so much of our manhood growth depends on spiritual and personal self-discipline.
Yeah. And
spirit-led discipline.
Yeah. I would say if you don't know where to start, you're like, I need to make a change in my life and I don't know what to do. Of course, go to church, form Christian relationships, like get brothers that care about you on a spiritual level.
Yep.
That is super important. If that feels unattainable to you right now, the 2 things that I would say is 1, get disciplined in your life to create margin to seek those better things, right? So a disciplined life is a more efficient life and it creates margin for you to be able to pursue those greater things. Second is serve other people. Nothing's going to pull you out of yourself better than serving someone else. So if you're feeling lonely, serving other people puts you in the same space as other people, right? If you lack direction and purpose, serving other people gives you that direction and purpose, at least temporarily in that moment. All of these things, discipline and serving other people, can pull you out of a funk in a way that nothing else can. And then you can start to pursue some of these greater things that God is calling you towards, where the faith, the gospel, church, Christian brothers, the scriptures are going to be able to lead you down the right path. Okay. But you have to step onto the path. You have to start walking. If you're just sitting on the couch playing video games, you're going to miss it. Okay. So get disciplined to serve other people and get moving.
I love that. I love that. Discipline yourself for the purpose of godliness. We see that trend among young men and we encourage it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're also seeing a remasculation of the church, and this is where we're going to leave it for right now. But, Pete, you talk about this a lot, the fact that a lot of churches are geared around a woman's sensibilities, right? We sing songs and we hear a message and we leave. And, sometimes men don't feel like they're welcome there or like this is built around them. Yeah. Sometimes the key changes, it doesn't fit their voices,
Oh yeah.
And we're starting to see churches. I mean, we've had some guests on the show, right, that have churches that are focused on the men and they're seeing incredible growth.
Yep.
And that's because there's an absence of this for a lot of people. And when they find it, they latch on and they get excited.
Yep. And I will say with this whole trend toward the remasculinization of the church, that those pastors that grip this and understand and welcome and encourage men to come to their church and think about the man code that they set up. Those churches are the churches of the future. Those are the churches that will continue to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're going to end it there, but we're going to continue this conversation next episode. I want to thank everyone for listening to this episode of the Forge Truth Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, or you want to join the conversation that we started today, you can email the show at forge@forgetruth.com. You can also learn more about the Forge movement on our website, forgetruth.com. Pete, why don't you give a challenge to our men listening today?
Yeah, it's so good to talk about these things. And I would say one discipline that we definitely need in our lives is to begin to think God's thoughts after him. If you're a Christian man, start your day with 15 to 30 minutes in the Word. I know, start small, but read the Word of God and start listening to what God is saying, because he's speaking to you and he wants to build your life in amazing ways.